right, so good afternoon and welcome to our PD session for today. We're delighted to have several online and several in the room with us, and that's always adds to it. So we are glad to have you here. Um, our topic for today is online course building, starting with the foundation. And we have with us Enid Conley joining us from Reno, Nevada. And this actually is the beginning of a three-part series about building a quality course by using the tools that we have here, plus the Quality Matters tools. And so, Enid, would you like to say hello?
Good morning, everybody from Reno, Nevada. I do know it's afternoon over there, but it's still 9-ish for me. And welcome to our course.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just as an overview, we are in WebEx, and our moderator and host today is Ashley. And you can communicate with her via the chat room, send messages to her, and let her know. You also have the capability of raising your hand, and she can unmute you so that you can speak to answer questions. And for the ones in here, I'm encouraging you to speak up and answer questions as you wish, because it's all getting picked up. Enid and I are the presenters, and we'll be sharing our content and sharing our screen. And as participants, you can send chat messages, and the host can unmute you. Just a quick overview. So here's what we are going to be doing today. As I said, we're talking about the building your course using some foundations to assure quality. And so we'll be taking a look at the components of quality in an online course. That's what you just put in on our on the poll for us. We'll go over and look at those in just a moment. We will be examining our course template to see the components that are in there that assure quality. We'll take a look at the QM standards, and then talk just briefly about the alignment within the blueprint, and then give you an opportunity at the end to create an objective. Sounds like great fun, right? So here's where we are going to take a look at what you have, your components for quality. So I'm going to go to the, all right, look at this. We've got, I'm shifting the screen over. All right, beautiful. I love all the comments that we have in there. I am going to ask you to reach out to Ashley if you would like to open up your mic and speak about any of these, and of course, Enid, if you wish to jump in on those. Pep, I love that. Look at that. Pep for quality, definitely, definitely. Would anyone like to make a comment about the items? Yes.
I love it that the word students is at the very center of it.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, everything we do, every intentional
Yes.
thing we put in our courses is with our students in mind.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, that's an important piece of it. Interaction is in there a couple of ways. Assignments, the sense of community, and that's really is a key piece of it too. So, anybody else want to join in on this? Enid, do you want to address any of the points?
Sure, it's wonderful to see all these points and how they're going to fall together on our presentation, how they'll fit into different categories. This is really good.
Well, I loved that also the word stakes was there.
Yes.
Yes. Normally, when we think assessments, we kind of think of the high stakes assignments like quizzes and midterms and finals. And quality can also be the variety of our assessments is also an indicator
Absolutely.
of quality.
Mhm.
And having low stake, multiple opportunities to assess our students is also a way to meet those
Yes.
quality
Yeah.
standards.
Yeah.
So I don't know who wrote that word, but I thought it was interesting that it was
Yeah.
there.
And thank you for that. We're going to have two other opportunities to join in on the poll, and you might want to go ahead and deactivate that one now
Sure.
so that we can then open up the other ones. And I am still not hearing Enid, but Enid, if you would like to address this slide.
When we are looking at building a course and the foundation for a course, our foundations are really about the student, but it's about quality, developing a quality course for our students. And if you look at Quality Matters and how they look at the goal of building a course, it's very interesting because the goal is for our learners so they can improve and grow, how we nurture our learning for them. And we present our courses that are well designed, well presented, and they actually have every step that you can consider in there so we can build quality courses. And one of the beauties about QM is that every 2 years we update. So it's not something that somebody thought of 10 years ago. Every 2 years we come up with new standards, and it's done by research, not by a few people, done by many, many people from all over the world that are educators and instructional designers that come together to come up with standards that are quality for your courses.
That we are so dedicated to using Quality Matters. And so one of the things that we use that assures our quality within our courses is the template that we provide for you. What I have here is just the opening page in the template. And we have make this template available to anyone who wants to use it, and we can just reach out and we will send you. We will set it up for you. So the fact that we have built this template with quite a few things already in place is what assures right at the outset. I heard someone reference last week that by using the template, they had already completed 26 of the standards from QM. So that simplifies things a little bit for us by having all of these pieces already in it. And we have with intent built our course template following the QM rubric standards. And I'm going to let Enid give you some background on those standards.
When we look at a foundation of a course, there are 8 specific standards that when we developed our course template, we follow, and it's also part of our syllabus and our blueprint. So, but I'll get to that later on. And if you look at standard number 1, course overview and introduction, that really becomes, you could see it in your home page, you can see it in the welcome and the start here module. It also applies to our blueprint as well as our syllabus. And what we have to do in a course overview and introduction is make sure that the student knows what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, of course, where online, and then if you have a course that happens to be blended, or you're going to have, like in a lot of language courses, meetings with other people online, you have to be from the student perspective, you have to be aware of where you're going, what you're doing, and how you're going to do it. Is that kind of everybody understands that? That's the idea of the course overview and introduction. Then we have our learning objectives. Those include our course level, module level that have to be in alignment. Our module level objectives are the ones who kind of set the platform for the whole course, and then the module level objectives are the ones that will support the course level objectives. And below that are assessments and measurements, and they have to be in alignment with number 2. It's number 2 standard, as well as our instructional materials, our learner interaction and engagement, course technology, learner support, and accessibility. And those kind of are the main structures to develop a course.
objectives. Typically, they come as a part of the course. We usually build and develop the module level objectives, but the course level objectives have had to be approved when the course was approved. So that's not typically something that we can change. All right. And so this one, did I skip? No, that I'm in the right place. So this is just a little bit of a graphic to show what Enid was talking about earlier, that the QM standards and the template components are pretty intertwined. She referenced the course overview and the introductions. Those are in the standard one, and then within each standard there are several that are broken down, and so those are within that one. The Start Here module and the syllabus are both things, as Enid mentioned, that are definitely a part of the standards and intended to be in the course to assure student success. And the learning objectives pop up in every one of the standards, standard 2 and 3, 4, and 5. And so there's the Start Here, the syllabus, and then within the modules, all of it is created to build that quality already into the course. And as I said, to accomplish some of the QM standards right at the outset. Enid mentioned the term alignment, and I don't know if you want to elaborate on this, Enid?
When we talk about alignment, we are looking at a course where all your critical course components work together to ensure that your learners achieve those learning objectives. That's why it's very important that your course level objectives are measurable, broad, because they're going to encompass your whole course, and that they are, of course, clear and understandable from the learner's point of view. Alignment also, when you have your course level objectives, you have your module level objectives, which are a little more specific, and they're designed to bring something to some kind of fruition, like writing a paper, developing a course project, whatever it is you're doing. So all of this, we're talking about alignment, your course level objectives are going to be the foundation at this point for everything in your course to come together. You're going to look at what your students, how are they going to learn it, why are they going to learn it, and how is this going to fall together when they are looking at each assignment and each module, as well as the module level objectives. How do we look at alignment? How do we make it clear? Well, CeL developed a beautiful, beautiful course map. We call it our blueprint. And that's where you can actually see everything come together. Judy, I don't know if you can click that for. There we go. If you look at our blueprint, we've got our course level objectives up here. These are not, some of these would be better off in a module level. They're not very broad, but your course level objectives are always going to be broad. The difference between your course level objectives and your module level objectives is that your course level objectives are not going to be measured in the sense of, and when I say assessed, I'm sorry, not measured, they're not going to be assessed. The module level objectives are assessed. So your course level objectives are always going to be broad and difficult to measure, even though they have to be measured. Let's say you're looking at identifying academic structures in a course. Well, that's a little difficult to measure, but if you go down to your module level objective that will support it, then you have to have something that's a little more specific and can be brought to some kind of project, writing assignment, even discussions. And over here, if you look, your Let's look at the module number 1. You have your module level objectives, the assessments that align with these objectives, as well as your materials, your lesson content.
And this is a tool that you will have that is also available to you. When you work with the center, as we are working with you either to build a course or through the Center for the e-certification workshop, we provide you with the blueprint and the background and how to start developing the blueprint for a course. If you're building a course with us, we sit with you and go through this, creating this blueprint for you throughout the whole course. And again, this is a document that is readily available. Just let us know. So again, this is just an overview or a review, I suppose, of the blueprint that you just saw. It's a tool that we use to build before we're designing a course or before we are revising a course, but it provides the foundation for the course, and it gives everyone involved, the students, the instructor, everyone involved, a roadmap for where we're going and what it's going to take us to get there. And gives us a smooth ride through the course, keeps everything in the right direction. And Lisa had a comment. So faculty can use the template to help organize their face-to-face class as well. Absolutely, absolutely. And I will mute mine if, Lisa, you would like to speak up.
Lisa, you're muted.
Hello, can you all hear me? Can you folks hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good, thank you. This is really good information. I want to thank Dr. Judy and Dr. Enid for going over all of this important information. And I couldn't help but think about my face-to-face classroom and how I can use a document like this to help organize the entire semester. And so, like, what Enid's talking about with the alignment piece, it's so crucial for us even to think about what we do in our classrooms on a weekly basis and how it aligns to our objectives that we lay out for our students right through the semester. And then, of course, our classrooms, all of our courses have objectives that the students must meet by the end of the semester. So again, as Enid was saying, all of this just filters, everything we do in our classrooms just filters straight up to those objectives, those course objectives.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Lisa. Yes. And it gives a great overview. And one of the things that I have discovered a couple of times is it gives a way of seeing where we have either missed something or skipped over something that was important, because it's easy to see the flow using the blueprint. And yes, your comment about it working for face-to-face, we get quite a few comments about applying the things that they have learned through the center into their face-to-face courses. And of course, that's the intent. That is the intent. It works for all of us. So objectives within the course give us the direction that we're going. We've referenced it a couple of times, and I've got some of the tools mentioned here for creating for the guidelines that we use when we're developing our module objectives. They give us a destination. They show us the direction that we want to go and take a look at the components of what it takes to get there, and provide transparency within the course so that those questions that used to be asked, is this going to am I ever going to use this? And yeah, this shows exactly where it's going to be used. And Lisa's also said that, especially when we consider our assessments, so the objectives do lead us directly into that assessment piece. And they should be student-centered. They need to break down the task. As Enid mentioned, we have the course level objectives are broader, and the module level objectives break the tasks down into smaller, easier to manage pieces. And they typically should identify the specific cognitive process that's going to be taking place. They use action verbs and most definitely are measurable.
Chris has a comment.
Okay, Chris, would you like to speak up, or you put it in the chat room?
Put it in the chat.
Okay.
He says, often examples of objectives I have seen seem rather artificial. Honestly, if I were a student, my brain would turn off.
Thank you for that, Chris. Yes, and you will see as we go through this, and I don't know, Chris is in the certification course right now, and so you will see as you're working through that module in there that they're created with intent, and in order to guide the students into where they need to go and how they need to get there. Yeah, thank you for that comment. So this is another one of the tools that is used, acronyms. We're loaded with acronyms in the field of education to help us remember the components of what those objectives need to be. Specific, absolutely directed to, now this is module level objectives, directed toward exactly what should be happening. Measurable, what's going to be the evidence that the student provides in order to know that they've accomplished that objective. Attainable, something that is within the scope of the course and the skill sets. Relevant, certainly connected to what the content is. And time-based. Many objectives are written with a specific by such and such a time. We see those in some courses and not in others, but that gives you an acronym to learn to think about how they are come together. And this is all based on backwards design, where we start with the end in mind. We think about, and I'm going to show you another one in just a moment that shows you the 3 steps of that backward design. We think about the end in where it is we want our students to go, the desired results, and then build from that. So we think about what evidence the students are going to provide for us, and then what we need to provide for them in order for them to be able to accomplish that. This is from Wiggins and McTighe, Understanding by Design, and it's used in a great deal of courses and schools all over. So, a comment? Yes.
Chris Lindick also says, okay, the module level helps a lot for the artificial issue. Smart is good.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we're on target for you.
Can I say something about
Sure.
that? I think that's a really interesting comment, and we tend to forget our objectives are for our students.
Yes.
So always keep in mind that they should be student-centered. Many of our faculty members tend to think that the objectives are for themselves, and they're not. They're because they're going to provide the evidence and the context for students to prove what they are able to do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely, and give us and they do help me as an instructor, because I need to make sure that I have included what I need to include for the students in order to accomplish that.
Mary made a very
These are the steps in the backward design, and we're not going to go into a lot of detail today on assessments and instructional strategies, because we're going to save those for a future PD session. So stay tuned with us. But the first step is to figure out, decide on what the objectives. What is it I want them to know when they have finished this particular module? And then the second step is to think about what it is they're going to do, the assessments, in order to accomplish those particular objectives. And then the instructional strategies. What activities do I need to have them do to reinforce those objectives and get them ready for the assessment? So if you want to, is it on?
Yes.
Okay. We have another opportunity for you to chime in. So we would like for you to think about a module, a lesson a week, something that you have taught or might be teaching, and write an objective for that module. And that's back in our Slido. You'll now, when you go in there, you'll see that question up. And I'm going to take us in there so we can watch as these come in. So, and you're welcome to put more than one if you want to really get brave. And Chris, now you get to try out your objective tools. I got to get to it though.
Remember that when you're writing objectives, to avoid jargon and complicated terminology.
Classify angles by degrees. Differentiate. Oh, somebody's looking at at our Bloom's taxonomy verbs. Differentiate between romanticism and realism in literature. So as you're looking at these objectives, think of, and as you're writing your own, think about their measurable, if they are measurable, something that you would see your students that your students could provide evidence of it. Grasp of material seems a little vague to me, and it almost comes under the category of using the word understand. And that's one of those words that you will often see understand in a course level objectives, because by the end of the course we hope they will. But we don't typically use it in module level objectives because there isn't anything our students can do. There's various things that they can do to lead toward understanding, but not a specific one.
There's a comment.
Okay, and I'm not looking on that, so go ahead.
Chris says, but then another problem arises for a certain kind of class in the humanities. Fine if the objective is to learn a verb form or complete a certain kind of geometrical proof, but what about a literature class, where I want students to be exposed to new ideas and respond sensibly and sensitively?
All right, so let's help Chris write some objectives for a literature class. And I'm not on this, so someone can, I think we had one come in, differentiate between romanticism and realism. So that would be like maybe
And the first one at the top.
connect textual evidence to main themes portrayed in the work.
Can you hear me?
Common themes in the postmodern art movement.
Enid is asking if we can hear.
Okay.
And there's another comment as well.
All right, so we need to, can you mute me because I'm not on that screen so that Enid can talk?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at some of these objectives. Some of them look like they're better suited for a course level. And then terms like understand, that's a term that's not measurable. That's why we use Bloom's cognitive verb domains. And we could see where if you want a student to understand something, there are specific verbs that we could use for that. And also be aware that you don't create a module level objective that is more of a direction than an objective. Collaboratively create, we couldn't measure that. What you would do in that one would be create a work plan for a specific group project. And you would avoid the word collaboratively. You can put that in your directions. Can you hear me? Okay. Does that make sense? There's just certain terms that are not measurable, but what you could do is to make it more clear to the student, you put that in your directions.
Lisa says, and really there is nothing wrong with referring to the objective throughout the course. So as the students are working on an assignment, put the objective up as the reason for why they are engaging in the activity.
No, we just mentioned the concept of transparency, and mentioning the why throughout the course and the activity ties into that idea of being transparent and letting our students know why they're asked to do what they're asked to do.
And the one on concept map would be identify literature themes in a group discussion. And then the concept map and the software would then be as a part of your instructions in there. But certainly identify literature themes or compare them or something like that, and be able to, and a concept map is a great tool for comparing things like that. That's a great. All right, we have one of our healthcare. Okay, so again, on this one, identify the major criteria used to evaluate healthcare systems is your objective, and then list them, explain why they are used, and provide an example are the things that would go into your activity or your assessment piece. But identify the major criteria is as an ideal one. Know the substantive facts and elements of theories. We might want to phrase that a different way, because know isn't something that is measurable, but we could have them explain them, have them identify, have them describe the elements of theories. And did you have a comment, Jessica?
Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, one of the things that I like to keep in mind with those verbs that may not be measurable, like know or understand, is to think of it like, what do you want them to be able to do once they know?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was kind of like a light.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Yep. Excellent. Great conversation. Thank you, all of you. We've got some fine ones. There's a non-example. Understand major themes in American literature. Chris, that's not one that you're going to use, okay? All right. So we've been, our hour, it has been closed off there. That's okay. I got the message. Oh, thank you. And so I'm going to mute myself and let Enid step in, because this is definitely.
Can you hear me? Okay. When we're developing our courses, you've got to remember that everything we do here at CEL is developed around quality assurance for your learners, for faculty, for everybody involved. First thing we have to do when we go into a course room is have a very clear course overview and introduction. And if there are issues you're having when you're developing your course, don't be afraid to reach out to your IDs. If the ID goes blank, it'll always go to quality assurance, so you will always get an answer. And I always tell people, don't be surprised if you go blank after you stare at a course for 40 hours. That happens. I've been there, everybody's been there. If you just go blank, ask your ID. If the ID goes blank, just send it through quality assurance, you'll get an answer. And that's the beauty about developing courses at FAU, is that you always have a backup to the backup. And somebody's there to help you. And it's human to go blank. I'm telling you, you stare at a course long enough, you will go blank, and that's normal. You have to have clear and measurable learning objectives. That's going to create the alignment for your entire course. Again, if you go blank, go to your ID for help. If your ID goes blank, it'll go to QA and some answer will come back, and you work on these. And just think, if you want your course to go through QM, if your course level objectives are not measurable, the review stops and it goes back. And it has to be edited and fixed, because if the course level objectives are not measurable, a review will not go through. So it's very important from the beginning for your students and to go through a QM so you could get that beautiful logo, to have clear and measurable course learning objectives and module learning objectives that support that. Your assessments that you're going to be using and measurements have to align with your objectives as well as your instructional materials. And we'll discuss that in more detail in part 2 of this PD. When we're looking at quality assurance, you're going to have activities and interactions that facilitate and support engagement and interaction. Again, that has to align with your course and module level objectives. Your tools have to align with your objective, and that's anything you use. If you have, and Mary, I always go back to your language courses because I love them so much. On a language course, and you want to make sure that your student is able to clearly articulate any of the objectives, can you do it without meeting virtually? Probably not. So you got to make sure you have tools in there that will assist the learner in learning the language, whether it's virtually meeting with someone from another country or with yourself. So tools are very important. Have them be able to have any institutional support. That's why all our Start Here module has everything and anything you can think of, and then if things come along, we add it to it. Support. Where can you get help if you have an issue with your course room? Where can you get help if you need some student support? There's always some service that your learner will need, and we already have them in our template. And you'll see it when you're developing your course, how your home page aligns with your Start Here module, how your welcome page aligns with your home page and the entire Start Here module. So it gives you access to anything and everything you can need, as well as we always put in there, ask your instructor any other question that may not be related to the course room, but that they can help and answer. And then your design. All our course designs are made with accessibility in mind. And when I say accessibility, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's for a certain group. Accessibility can be for anybody. When I think of accessibility, I also think of learning styles. And if you have a person that's visual as well as auditory, and you have that accessibility in the course, that's going to help everyone in your course, not just students with special needs. And it's of course for our special needs students, but we got to think too of people with different learning styles. And I can think of myself, I'm a holistic learner, so I need to read, sometimes need to listen, and it's just a combination of things that is helpful for everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Enid. We're going to give you another opportunity to go back to the poll and think about 2 things that you have picked up about quality in your online courses. And it's the same links and the same number. It's just now you'll see the new slide coming up. So let me go. Yes, help is indeed always available, and you don't have to be necessarily building a course with us to jump right in. And so I'll use that as my there's support. I will use that as my little plug, I guess, for our open lab days on Mondays and Fridays, and that we are also available to reach out anytime. Objectives are about the students, not the faculty member.
Chris said model objectives, not objectives. Backwards design, I second that.
Yep, absolutely. All right, some really good solid takeaways, and we truly appreciate that. Let me jump back in, and I mess myself up here. how did I get out of my? No, it's all right.
Do you want to go back to your PowerPoint?
Looks like it's on a whiteboard. What's that?
Yeah, I clicked on whiteboard a while ago, and now that's what's up there.
Do you have the drop down? Where it says whiteboard? Click on the drop
There,
down.
I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Little blank out there for a moment. So I wanted to let you know that next week we will be having a session on virtual communities of practice, which is a really amazing tool that we have been building and developing with certain groups, and it's a really great way to keep in touch with your community. And then the following week, one of our library sessions on government documents and maps, how to access them, how to use them, and how to guide your students through the use of them. So I'm delighted that you have joined us today, and truly appreciate your comments and your interaction in here. That's I'm glad that we had so many great comments in our poll. Thank you so much for joining us.